Okay. Well, yeah. This what's this the exercise in fertility?
Patience.
Really, but more and more, I think, isn't that the truth? All these small things, we got to have patience.
You do.
Yeah, gosh, especially in this world today. My parents told me patience is a virtue, and the older I get, I'm really.
Yeah, you didn't have time to listen to that gibberish.
No, exactly. So originally, I told you I'm writing a book on shamanism,
Right.
and I said, my concept isn't the typical, and you're not indigenous,
Right.
You're originally from Scotland, so but the Scotland, they have their own Celtic traits.
Oh, sure.
They definitely were shamans, but but right now we're everyday Americans.
Correct.
But my definition of a shaman is someone who thinks outside the box. So someone who has a different perception on reality, on life. And so I thought about that, and I go, my neighbor across the street, Mark McClellan, he definitely,
Yeah.
So this is what, so I'm interviewing, I interviewed a friend of mine named Richard Sand, who studied with the indigenous cultures in Peru for about 7 years. He's
Right.
been a shaman for a good 20 plus years. And then another friend named Tom Kazuma. But then, now I'm going to say, okay, now I'm going to another different level. We all have different journeys in life. So I want to get into the journey of Mark McClellan and have you, tell, because you really have a different angle every time we have talks on the telephone. I learn a lot about you, and I respect your personal journey. So
Right. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. So no matter who they are, everyone has a precious journey. The universe doesn't judge our journey. Basically,
universe is our journey.
Exactly. So, and in my eyes, I think you would agree. If we were tolerant of each one's journey, we wouldn't have these types of problems, that we have on this planet today.
True.
Imagine if politics was guided by kindness, right? Compassion, patience,
right.
Tolerance. We wouldn't be in a situation where the white left wing and the white right wing.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah.
Well, though, Rick, the problem, if you want to call it a problem, is people just aren't used to thinking like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They weren't raised that way. They didn't have anybody around them saying, well, look up, how'd the old saying go, look at it this way.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You don't understand, look at it this way.
Yeah.
So it's hard for a lot of people to do that. And then, all you have to do is look around. Everybody's sort of dug in this big ditch and they're like holding their ground. And
yeah.
It's actually kind of boring. It's so stagnant, it's just, it's piling up on itself. And it's,
Yeah, like recently I read an article, and I think the word is obstification. And what that means is that we hold on to our beliefs so much, that when even the other person has a different point of view, that we can't change because we think what we're holding on to is the ultimate truth.
Right,
So so a wise man, as you would say, is that we like those
right,
different points of view because that's how we grow, right?
right.
That is how we learned. Uh, even going back, let's say we go back to high school, and in high school, automatically it's say when you graduated, you're supposed to go to college, right? I mean
Right.
that's the normal point of view. Well, you and I we didn't take that route.
No.
I was a surfer. I went on my worldwide journey. I think you were a skier. Became a ski bum.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wouldn't say bum, but I did.
Yeah,
I guess you could call it a bum because nobody was making a lot of money. So it's
yeah. Oh, that's right. You were actually what were they called? Not a coach, trainer,
an instructor.
instructor. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is, so we both of us did not follow the norm of society. Mm,
True.
yeah, and don't you think when and the way I look at it, I'm asking you, don't you think when you buck the system in terms of what society expects you to do, that the journey is exciting?
True. Well, a good story. I think I may have explained this one to you before, and I can't remember what my high school counselor's name was, but he had the same kids. So I was a McClellan, and so he had my sister, he had my brother. He had students from L to P or something. He had all those students, last names and stuff. So he knew my sister. He had her for 4 years. He knew my brother. He had him for 4 years. And every year you'd make that little journey into his office, and he'd always ask you what you're doing, what do you like, how's school, just the usual riffraff questions. And every time he'd ask me, he goes, "What do you want to do? When you leave high school, what do you want to do?" I said, "Just want to be happy and make other people happy." I mean, that's and he'd always, "No, what do you really want to do? Be happy, make other people happy." And then I remember my senior year, I went in there. He goes, "Well, what school are you going to?" And this and that. I go, "I haven't really made up my mind. Going to Orange Coast College. See how that works out." And it was different when you didn't like something. You could walk out of the class. I mean, you're paying for it.
Mhm.
So I remember going to OCC, and I was really into art and stuff. So I was taking a color and design class, and it was like the second day, and the art teacher was, shall we say, a little different. And you have to buy all these supplies. It's on the, okay, do this class, you need these kinds of paints and boards and stuff like that. So you've already spent money, investing in the class, and everybody in the class was like, "Okay, let's get into some artwork here." And the first thing he said was, "I want you to go to the school library, the school bookstore." So now here it comes, another thing you got to buy, and it's like I forget the name of the book, but it was a children's book called like The Red Elephant. And by this time, I was just like, wait a minute. I get up, I've got a job. I'm coming to the class. It's a color design class. And I sort of raised my hand. And I said, before I go out and buy this book, and it's a children's book, and I'm in college now, what's the deal with the book? Why is this book so important for us to read when we're here to do art? And like, a lot of people in the classroom are like, yeah, what he said, when do we get to start doing stuff? And he got really pissed off at me. And he goes, well, if you don't think it's important to read this book, to see what's in this book, so we can do this class. I just don't see it. She goes, well, maybe you should just leave. I go, you know what? Maybe you're right. And I packed up my portfolio and all my stuff, and I'm walking out the door. And of course, he was giving me a bunch of grief. And he goes, well, if there's anybody else that feels the way, this guy does, and half the class got up and walked, which I'm sure sort of bruised his ego a little bit. But at the same time, it was like, wait a minute, this is going no place. I could see I wasn't being happy and I wasn't making other people happy, so I left. And apparently a lot of other people felt the same way. So there's that. But getting back to the high school counselor, he, senior year, he asked me what I was going to do. And I said, just want to be happy, make other people happy. He goes, well, you can't make money doing that. I said, well, yeah, you can. If you're doing a job that you're happy with, you're going to be happy, and then people around you are going to see that you're happy. You're going to make them happy. And you know what? It's a journey. Here, I'm looking at one happy guy right here. It's contagious. And you can make money being happy. Yeah. A lot of people do. Sometimes you don't have to go to school to do that. But yeah, so, what is it? 50 years later, here we are.
And
we have a reunion coming up next year.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Right. Yeah. Now talk about being happy. Last time I saw Kevin Charles, he was at my mom's, visiting my brother and I. Must have been a couple of years ago. And we were having a conversation, and your name came up, and Kevin Charles was saying the happiest person he has ever met was you. He says, how can people not like him? He's the happiest. And so this is kind of like the ideals. You'd say you had that back then, of being happy, and you carried that over to this day, even to a point, where 50 years later, Kevin Charles, and we meet him,
yeah.
So that is, I love hearing stories like that, where I'm sure, that this journey at times is bumpy for all. No one gets right. But you have that happiness that fills you up, and that's your purpose. So that I love to hear. So tell me, Mark, how do you say so-called, let's say, obstacles or bumps in the roads? Because it seems like you're doing a pretty good job.
Well,
we all go through it.
Sure.
Nobody gets a free ride.
Right. Yeah.
But there's an attitude, and I think you're on to something. Is that
there's a verse in the Bible, and I'll just put it in. Jesus said it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
but the verse is simple. Seek and ye shall find.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you seek it, you'll find it, which basically means you seek it, it'll manifest itself in front of you.
Mhm.
And I have used that so many times when I've been scared or when I needed something, you know, I don't know, countless times I've been out in the wilderness someplace and I need something that I don't have. Now,
Mhm.
where are you going to find it out in the middle of nowhere? Well, if you just, you know,
Mhm.
calm the heart and the brain
Yeah.
and you're seeking it. First of all, you have to seek the idea of what that is you really need. And inevitably within 2 minutes, oh, here it is.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's right there in front of you. You
Mhm.
know, whatever it would be, it would work to solve the problem that you had right then.
Mhm.
And I still use that today. And it's always there.
Mhm.
It's always there.
Yeah.
When I really, really need something and I really need,
Mhm.
you know, it's there. Whether it's a question being answered or, you know, or something physical that I need to, you know, make something with to do something else, you know, it's always right there.
Mhm.
So, and that's a universal thing. I mean, it's if you don't have the ability to look for it or seek it, you're never going to find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even because it's sitting right there in front of you, you just don't see it.
Mhm.
You know, like the wise man says, you know, you got to look inside, you know, but you're looking at him and he's looking at you going, he's looking right through you and it's right there, you know, so, which I have a hard time doing is calming my head and, you
Mhm.
know, I'm working on it still.
Well, just think a person can meditate for 1 trillion years and still you've taken your first step in the journey.
Right,
So
right.
it's an infinite journey, right? And yet, you know, I 100% agree with you on that. You know, the more you pay attention to something, it starts paying attention to you.
Right.
So, you know, like I remember like when I first started to meditate, it would take me an hour just to get centered. And yet, you know, I've been doing this, you know, day in, day out for almost
Right.
20 years. And so now when I close my eyes, you know, the universe is meditating upon me, you know.
Right.
And that's the same thing, you know, as you're saying, you know, seek, you know, you seek and then all the answers come come your way. So
Right.
I
Well,
honest,
your brother posted a thing on Facebook with all the rectangles and stuff, and you know he says there's 16 circles in here. Can you see them?
oh yeah, yeah.
You know, but you know, now I think I posted it. You know, it's a focus issue. You know,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
focusing on the wrong thing. You know,
yeah.
and I sort of gave the story away and how you know where they are, and I forget who was asking about it. But
Uh,
they said, yeah,
but
you
you
just
know,
gotta.
but then again, see how wise men always give hints, you know, because you know
Right.
people can't see. So
Right.
even you know all the wise men from the past, you know, when they either through a poem, you know, or through a scripture or a written word or just by a spoken word, they give you know helpful hints, you know, that yeah, look within, you know, the answers
Right.
lie within. We're you know because someone on John's Facebook, John posted something about asking questions about who am I, and
Mhm.
this one person answered, you know, a mutual friend, which I won't say. They said, why do you keep on asking, you know, that question over and over and over again? And then, you know, nothing, against that person, but that's, society today is that something, it should be as obvious as the truth, that jewel that lies within. We should automatically know it, but we
Right.
don't.
But you don't.
Those circles, those 16 circles are there. Yeah, and yet we look at it, and most people say, I don't see any circles, and yet when someone just gives away, well, look at these key areas, there they are.
Right.
And I think you would agree, the world would be in a better place if we all looked at those 16 circles. If we
Right.
saw, that those circles, exist inside of us. That, because I remember as a kid, you and I remember we would go at times, to events at St. Andrews, at times,
Sure.
and that they would always say that you couldn't have that experience of the kingdom of heaven while you were alive. You couldn't experience God while you were alive.
Impossible.
Yeah,
Impossible.
impossible. Exactly. And yet, so imagine a society is brought up with those kinds of attitudes, right? So when someone is telling you, that there's millions of people just like us who are saying it's not only possible, but this is your true nature. This is
Exactly.
yeah.
That's the wanting part.
Yeah.
Is there anything more than this? I mean, there's got to be more to it than this, and it's, there's a lot more to it than this. So but at the same time, this is it. So it's a hard concept to understand. And seeing the light certainly helps explain a lot of things for you. And I'm lucky I was able to get there a few times. So and that answers a whole bunch of questions. It's a happy place. And what did they tell you basically in the Bible? It's going to be a glorious day when heaven comes down to earth. Or when you actually realize that you're living in heaven right now. I mean, this is it.
Behold, right? The kingdom of heaven lies within. And how about if thy eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. I mean, that's
right.
If that's not a mystical experience, and yet a practical experience, that the human body is wired for that. That's what kind of gets me. Just think, we have a car, an amazing car that's sitting in the garage, and the garage door is closed, and it's gathering dust, and the universe is saying, why don't you take the car out for a spin? This car was meant to be driven,
Your dad did.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Even with this global shutdown, my personal thing with the global, Mother Nature is telling the whole world to go to your rooms and think about, the actions that.
Think about what you just did.
Yeah. But to do it in a way that's not judgmental,
Right.
Because the universe doesn't judge, but they're saying you have free will. You need Mother Nature. Mother Nature does not need you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So in terms of, I think by being humble with nature and wanting to live in harmony with nature, I think this world would be in a better place.
I totally agree. I mean, I'm more at peace when I'm outside. You know, I mean, life is blissful sitting underneath some aspen trees and the grass with a, you know, small stream zipping by, and
Yeah.
I could be there forever, you know.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But you know, you get up, you go home, have something to eat, and go to sleep, and it's still there. You know, you can enjoy it anytime, and that being outside and in wilderness areas, or it could be the desert or wherever. I mean, everything has its own beauty. Underwater, oh my God, that's
Mhm. Yeah.
that world's just like a
Uh-huh.
drink.
Mhm.
Water is just, you know, the fluidness of water, and how much of it is on Earth, how much of it makes us up. I mean, it's that in itself is like a key to getting where you need to go. You know, just let it flow.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, you can be a rock in the middle of the stream, or you can just go with the stream. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
and it doesn't mean
Yeah.
you know, just go with the flow. I mean, it,
Mhm.
you know, it's why do you need to stand in the middle of the stream to see the water? You know, you can become the water and just
Mhm.
and see where that takes you. You know, I mean, that journey alone, just being a leaf on a stream, and if you were looking up, I mean, God, how joyous would that be? Get to
Mhm.
see all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, as you can see, I've been writing commentaries on the Tao Te Ching. There's
Yes, I like them. I like them.
uh and and it just think I had that book on my bookshelf for about 40 years. I could only pick up the first chapter and read it, and then I had to put it down. And then during, once again during the shutdown, I said, I got time on my hands. I'm going to go through this whole book chapter by chapter and kind of get the essence of what the
Does it need to be broken down in chapters, or can you just open it up anywhere and just read it?
oh, you can open it up anywhere. Yeah. Uh-huh. But what I wanted to do was, there was a point, that Lao Tzu was trying to drive upon, and a lot of it even pertains to our politics today,
Right.
and in terms of the uh, the the Taoist, politics is that a leader should be humble. He should be just like water. He has nothing to prove. He's not ruling over his subjects. But, basically, if there's any ruling at all, it's patience, tolerance, compassion, all those universal principles. He says that if war ever happens, you want to mourn both sides, because both sides, there's millions of people who get killed. And a lot of it is due to not having proper diplomats to solve the given situation. And he says that, and diplomats. I also wrote a book called Conscious Politics, in terms that we, in order to truly rule, you need happiness, you need patience, you need tolerance, you need all those traits that you and I know. If we had
and be a good teacher.
exactly. Exactly, to express that into our daily actions. And I don't need to say anything about what's currently going on today, but
Yeah, it's hard to point a finger anywhere right now.
exactly. But one thing that I do see, that the further we get away from the Tao or from the universe, or call it whatever, the worse situations we get ourselves into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And um, you've taught me, and through my own learning and teaching and books and stuff. You're right, and it kind of makes me laugh. I know we sort of brought this up before, but you know, 'cause I can see when you're drifting off someplace and it's really eating at you, you know, and I want to just sort of Rick, snap out of it, you know.
And
But it's at the same time, you know, it gets very frustrating.
mhm.
But at the same time, it's you know, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
you just I don't know. You have to keep
Yeah,
putting the good vibes out.
to be honest, ever since I was a kid, I felt I was a stranger in a strange land. And because, you know, for me,
Well, first of all, you were in a strange neighborhood, so yeah.
but you know, for me, even in terms of you know, for me, I think politics should be the highest ethics or morality,
Right.
but it's not. And
It's-
so when it's not, we have absolute chaos.
Right.
No. So I think that is my main frustration. I don't care who it is, you know, the right or left, when they come from a place of total ego, you know, power, you know, control, making laws, you know, that harm people, just that not coming from their true nature. I think that's the common denominator. I get frustrated by that, and I know I shouldn't, but I do. And
Well, you can see it happening where a lot of people don't. So.
yeah. Mhm. But I have total faith. You know, the way I look at it, and from what I read about, it takes about 1 million years for civilization, for a world to grow up. Nobody gets a free ride. Nobody. I'm talking about if we've been alive for eternity, this isn't the first time, you know, let's say, a human race has ever got together. You know, our history has been a lot of ups and downs, but I believe in a evolution. You know, whatever it is, you know, everything evolves, doesn't it?
It
Everything
breathes.
changes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, everything breathes. You know, even the entire universe is
Exactly
breathing. So I think you agree with that. So as that, what's 1 million years, even in terms of eternity? You know. Yeah. Uh-huh. And when you talk about, you know, in the beginning, this conversation about, you know, asking, you know, seeking, well, mankind is seeking peace, but it's a whole incredible journey along the way.
right.
Well, one interesting story, I in my teens, I hitchhiked from Kenya to South Africa, because at that time, Marachi was a teacher who was going down to South Africa. And while I was in Bombay, I asked him, are we going to get there alive? He says, yes. He says, you are, but you're going to have a hell of a lot of adventures along the way. And then it wasn't until, I think only about 2 months ago, you know, I thought, well, why didn't he just tell us to fly from Bombay to South Africa? And then I thought about it. It wouldn't be an adventure, would it?
Right.
You know? So it even in midst of all this so-called, you know, turmoil, you know, there's an incredible adventure, a wave that we're on.
But look at how much you learned.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, most. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, one of my person I never got to meet when I lived in Aspen was Hunter Thompson. And, you know, he wrote many books and yeah, it's really kind of sad I never got to meet him, because I had a lot of my friends who knew him and told him about me and how he, you know, wanted to meet him, and they'd call me up, or they'd say, hey, you know, Hunter's over here, and I'd be working, or I couldn't get away, and so I never got a chance to even see the guy, you know. So, but one of his favorite, one of the little quips of what he wrote was, you know, buy the ticket, take the ride. You know, so okay, you bought the ticket. Now you got to take the ride. You know, so you know, and it's you know, for some people they don't understand it, you know, but at the same time it's like he bought lots of tickets, took lots of rides.
Yeah.
So I mean, but the whole point is, you know, hey, if you want to go there, you got to get on the bus and go. So, you know, that's the learning curve. You know, it's different for everybody. Not everybody has that opportunity, but everybody does have that opportunity. You know, everybody says, "Oh, well, I can't do that because I do this." Well, stop doing what you're doing and go do it. You know, I mean, I can understand there's certain systems and people. I understand not everybody's capable of maybe doing that. But if you really want to do that, the seeking part, then it'll come to you. But you got to be able to have the ticket in your hand and willing to take the ride.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make that jump eventually. You know, it's like you got to look around. Everybody's telling you, no, don't go, don't go. It's like, okay, go. And that's where your journey begins. If you make that first step, you know, it's
Yeah.
the rest of it comes pretty easy. You know, well, I bought a ticket and I got the ride. Now I'm over here. Well, hey, I got to buy a ticket and go this way, and you know, just go out and look at the world. I mean, that's the whole. I mean, how else do you find the experience other than, you know? My God, I love people. Yeah, I know you do. I mean, just listening to other people's stories and stuff, and then they can take you places. You know, it's an endless journey, and you should never slow down to, you know.
And just think that the common denominator, which still kind of blows my mind, is that we're breathing, you know, 24 hours a day, right?
Yeah,
And
nonstop.
So, you know, people should ask, what is the power that is keeping you alive? And just think, everybody, I don't care, you know, if you're a quadriplegic or whatever, if you're even sick on your deathbed, you can still focus your mind on the breath that is keeping you alive. And just that mere thing, just think, if you do that day in and day out, the doors will open up for incredible journey, you know.
Right.
And I'm still kind of bewildered, you know, today. You know, even during this virus, where people get bored. You know, boredom, it's only a state of mind.
Right.
We can train ourselves not to be bored. When tell me, you never get bored in nature, do you? Oh my God, I got to sit in nature. I got to watch this waterfall.
Oh yeah. If you get bored, you just jump the stream and look at it from the other side, you know, and it's like, it's totally different.
So, and let's go back to the beginning, is perception. You know, that we are most of humanity is locked in such a perception. I call it dullness. It's not sharpness. It's not clarity. We're kind of like, you know, on a treadmill and of life. We're spinning around.
Where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good point. You know, Carlos Constanata on, his teachings at Don Juan and the bubble of perception, and Don Juan was always trying to tell Carlos, you got to break out of the bubble of perception, you got to, and like you were saying, it's hard to see what the bubble is, but the bubble it's foggy, it's dull, as you look out the window and you think, gosh, what, it's so dull outside until somebody came by and washed the freaking window.
Mm-hmm.
And you just sort of like that. It's like, whoa, there's green grass out there and trees and dirt and stuff, flowers. So it's the perception,
Yeah.
It's looking and seeing the circles and the squares and rectangles.
Because it's like just our subconsciousness is running the show. 95% of our actions come from our subconscious, and 5% is conscious. So, and I've been studying this probably the last 4 or 5 years, is that our body is a chemistry set. Whatever you think. So if you have angry thoughts, like stress hormones gets released and affects every single cell of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Modern day man, I just think the faucet of adrenaline is turned on and they don't know how to turn it off. But just think, we are our own master. If we can do that for negative thoughts, we can also learn how to program our body and our mind with thoughts of patience, tolerance, compassion, and then basically in that state, you have let's say a happy thought or a thought of gratitude. Automatically, in gratitude, the mind and the heart is in sync. Mm-hmm. So we can learn how to rewire the human bodies. So no matter what kind of trauma we went into, we are our own master chemist. And I think you pretty much kind of tap into that in terms of even from let's say as being a teenager. Right. What do you want to do? I want to be in a state of happiness, and if from happiness, no matter what comes my way, I can overcome obstacles. So years ago I didn't. To be honest, I thought there was meditation, but I never saw the correlation between the mind, body, and thoughts. I didn't see that. Mm-hmm. But the older I get, I definitely see that, and I know you had that awareness years ago. and yet we're always fine tuning this guitar, aren't we? There'll never be a point. We say, oh, okay, my guitar is in perfect tune.
Well, it may be in perfect tune, but then you're never playing it.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You got to play it to keep it in tune.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Got to hit those high notes and those low notes, and
yeah.
Every once in a while tune it up.
So yeah, it's kind of amazing. You and I, we've been on the same wavelength, and yet there's probably decades. We haven't even talked with one another. We're both our own journey, and then wasn't until actually probably being on Facebook. Now we can
through that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's I think we were very fortunate too, where we grew up and when we grew up.
Mm-hmm.
To have so many friends, it's I don't know how else to explain it. It's not unusual to have so many friends, and like you said, with the onslaught of Facebook and stuff like that, and how many more friends that you always had that now you're back in touch with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which was kind of neat. You know, so I think that's technology is a good thing or it can be a bad thing.
Mhm. Yeah, well, with the family and friends, I think I wrote about 540 people. That's a, you know,
Yeah,
I started, from my childhood all the way to my current work friends, and I think everyone should kind of reflect on that, because my first paragraph is that no man is an island, right? We all have our mentors, friends, family who help us and encourage us on this journey. And well, even going back to when we first started surfing, your dad was responsible for us getting our first surfboards from Gordy Duane because
yep, that's true.
your
Who,
dad,
who used to come into the hobby shop and buy stuff, and
uh,
and he asked, "Oh, what do you do?" I make surfboards, and yeah, I know a guy makes surfboards. You want a surfboard? Okay, let's go down and see Gordy.
yeah,
Those are exciting times. You couldn't wait for your board. Yeah, is it
uh,
ready yet? Is it ready yet? Is it ready yet?
uh, yeah,
And carrying those things down to the bay.
uh,
When we used to go down to hop in the water and paddle over and take our lunches and go to the Corona and
yeah, yeah,
beer or whatever. And people would every once in a while get a tow on a boat, and
right.
crazy. Good times.
Uh-huh. So I don't know how long we've been on.
Well, it took us almost an hour just to
Yeah,
get on.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Uh-huh.
so it's again, it's been like 45 minutes, 50 minutes.
Okay, okay. So let's see what are kind of things I want to ask you about. Just and I also love hearing stories, about your dad. That
Mhm.
just think as a kid, we probably weren't, too interested in our parents' generation, but then once we get to a point, where we were, and we are our parents' generation, their times, and especially being grandparents, I I would say we all have a deep respect for life and for our ancestors. I know I sure do. Even in terms of my grandmother Josie. I don't know if you're probably no, I'm sure you probably met her,
I probably met her a couple of times.
yeah. But she would always remind us and said, God always loves you, and when my brother and I heard that, we were only 7, 8 years old. She said that to
Right.
all our life. We would just giggle, and laugh. And years later, I think about 45 years later, every time I remember that, just like the universe is saying, hey, I'm just checking in, through your grandmother, just saying hi, don't get so troubled, by life, that the secret lies inside of you, so that eventually, you'll open up the door and start working, and playing with this incredible journey. So, because she never opened up the Bible or said, you're sinners, and you
Right.
have to die for yours. It was all playful, cheerful, and happiness, just emanating. And and I think you and I kind of, that's how we resonate. I, I don't want to be scorned or told what to do. Uh,
Right.
but if someone would just be an expression of happiness and joy themselves, then that truly motivates me. and And I think, you and I, we have that kind of relationship,
I
just,
think so. We've had it for a long time.
yeah. Uh-huh.
Maybe not so much knowing it then, but back of the head you did,
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, when we were teenagers, yeah, but we weren't. it, it it was in our subconscious, but I would say it was not in
Right.
our conscious awareness. But don't you think it's kind of amazing how the universe kind of arranges things where we were brought up during those times, and not only brought up those times that we were neighbors, literally living, across the street from one another, and then years later we kind of look back and say, wow, that's there
Kind of
is,
special.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Kind of special. Yeah, because I mean, look at all the friends just on our street and just around the block. It's crazy. It was good times.
Yeah.
A couple of them, maybe not so much. The Carters that live behind you, right? Or was that the Deemers, I guess?
Oh, the Deemers, yeah.
Well, the Deemers,
Oh,
but the lived behind you. There's the Carter boys, I think it was. And then the Bells, remember the
the
Bells?
Bells, yeah, remember the Bells, yeah.
I mean, there was like 3 sons there, and they were all older,
Yeah.
so they were actually kind of moving out of the house soon after we moved in, and
Mhm. Eric
but,
Houston, remember the Houstons?
oh yeah, Eric and Tina.
Yeah, yeah, uh-huh.
So it's a lot of people moved away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So,
Carter Robinson.
oh yeah,
Then we had Jeff Robinson, right? And Mark Blackburn.
Jeff and Gary, yeah.
Jeff and Gary, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I see Carter every once in a while.
Oh, do you? Okay. Oh.
He's local, but he's a busy guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing nautical stuff. He's always been in the boats.
Mm-hmm.
So he's trying to get out of it. He's an electrical engineer basically.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
So he wires stuff and generators, power these big yachts and stuff, and designs all the control panels and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's I'm just getting too old for this stuff, I'm just like, because it's a memory thing. He goes, if I take a screwdriver and I touch the wrong thing, I'm gone.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh my gosh.
that's how much power is going through these things.
Uh-huh.
He's like,
I spent time with him in Europe. I think I told you that.
right, yeah, when he was in Denmark.
Yeah, in Denmark.
With Captain Nemo.
Captain Nemo, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was Brad Crowell. He was with them. And I was with Craig Perkins. Do you remember Craig Perkins?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Andy and Craig, and weren't there 3 of them?
Yeah, there was. I forgot. Yeah.
Well, there's Andy, and then Craig, and I forget. I thought there was another brother there. I can't remember.
Yeah, Craig passed away. I don't know if you know that. I think about 10 years ago he passed away.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know how.
Yeah.
My brother must have been 20 years ago, was in San Diego in a McDonald's near the Mexican border, and he hears this voice in the line, and Craig has a real distinct voice, and lo and behold, there was Craig.
Oh, that's wild.
Uh-huh.
That's fun to run into people out in the middle of nowhere. It's like, and it's like you're just passing too, because you're.
Uh-huh.
I'd like to stay and chat, but I gotta catch my plane, kind of a deal.
Well, you literally did that once when I was working for the Miami Beach Police and City Hall.
Oh, yeah, that was such a funny phone call.
Uh-huh.
That was such a funny phone call.
Uh-huh.
Do you know where Rick is? No. It was really funny too, because they just sent me through the ringer, they're asking me all these questions. Like, how do you know Rick? I'm like, well, what's going on here? Who is this? Because I didn't know who I was calling. Your brother just gave me a number,
Yeah.
Oh, here's Rick's number. Call him when you get to Miami. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
All these people are on the phone asking me questions like, where's Rick? I don't know.
Oh,
I
yeah,
I thought he was here, and is this his house? No, it's not his house, and I'm like,
yeah, it was City Hall, and people,
yeah.
at least City Hall, they were kind enough when I get, hey,
Well,
dude,
they were
this
looking
guy
for
named
you.
Mark McClellan.
They were looking for you. It's like, we
Uh-huh.
haven't seen the guy. Do you know where he is?
Yeah.
How should I know?
Uh-huh.
I'm
Yeah.
on my way to Jamaica.
And that's the message that I got. Mark's on the way to Jamaica, just saying hi. Yeah, talk about,
Good times. Yeah, that was back in the 80s. That's when you were writing stuff, I guess. You were programming all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I was, that's when President Carter, accepted all the Cuban refugees
Right.
and
Oh,
Castro
right.
let loose. Remember all the prisoners in this prison? So
Oh, yeah.
crime skyrocketed in Miami Beach. So I wrote one of the very first crime analysis program in Miami Beach, so we could analyze all the crime. I did like a visual identification program. So if a guy, if someone gets mugged or that they kept track, like tattoos, the guy's 5'4", blue eyes, so on and so forth. And then, back then, most of the gang members had tattoos, and so we were.
They still do.
Yeah, yeah. So I wrote a visual identification program, so you can have a person who got mugged. They could actually see a physical lineup of all the people that matched that criteria. This was in 1984, so it's one of the very first visual identification programs. Oh, yeah.
Geez, you should have patented all that stuff.
Yeah, well, I was working for the Miami Beach Police, so I couldn't,
Yeah, exactly. That was your job. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Too funny.
But programming, really taught me is that if I can program a computer, I put two and two together, I can start programming myself. I can go into my own.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I took those same principles, 35 years ago, and day by day, basically, I kind of wake up in the morning and I start tinkering around, with my inner software, kind of vision what I want, how I be. And then in the evening, I kind of take a look at, okay, what kind of software did I create today? How did I treat people? What were those buttons that got pushed? So and I did that once because I heard that the Dalai Lama he does that every night. Review the day.
Reviews his day.
Yeah, and at that time, to be honest, I didn't understand that, and it took me 30 years to finally. Oh, that's why you do that, because you want to reprogram. You want to change the
right. That makes sense too, and that's a very good analogy of what you should do. Read the reviews.
Exactly. Really.
Yeah. Oh, Rick was a real butthead today. Woo. How can I change that? It's like.
Really. This is the internal Mad Magazine of Alfred E. Newman.
Exactly. And it's not like you can write a shitty review.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it never really gets that far. It's like, you can't blame it on anybody else.
Yeah, really.
Roger Ebert wrote me a bad review, but when you're doing the reviewing, it's like, oh.
Yeah, really.
I'll try to do that more often.
Yeah. So it's just like common sense, which is uncommon.
Very uncommon these days.
Yeah, yeah. And so these are like the key pointers, I think, throughout this conversation. We just have to be more aware. It's not the big steps that we take that changes life. It's just the small baby steps.
That's true.
Once you say it, that isn't one event that, maybe one event can change the course of events, but it's those baby steps that led up to that big event.
That little drop of water can put a hole in a stone,
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just kind of wondering, is John still over in Europe?
Yeah, he's still in Europe. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Is that going well for him over there? Or?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah, he's his daughter.
We had our little reunion, there at Fashion Island. Mark Blackburn was there, and Craig Elliker and I, and John's wife, I guess, or not wife, or whatever that is, happening. But and he was Scott Sumner, well, John, what are you doing these days? And he went into his biocurrency or whatever, and I started going off on all this stuff, and we're just like, what?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
And to be honest, I don't talk to John about it, because it's kind of like high security matters.
Right.
John is really coming. The way I look at it, he has such wild, creative ideas that would work, that there's parts of the government that don't want creative thinkers.
Right.
So
I totally get that.
Yeah. So that's why I don't even talk to him over the telephone about it. In person. I will, but
right.
Yeah, he's.
Well, that makes total sense.
Yeah, he's yeah, he's told me hundreds of stories about people. Well, even going back to my dad.
Right.
My dad growing up was somewhat anti-government, and I didn't know why. But when he tells me a story, imagine in 1954 they created modular housing, where they created a house, and where your wife could say, "Honey, I don't like where the bathroom is," and so it was on tracks, so you could move the bathroom to anywhere if you want. So basically it was like almost like a jigsaw house of a house, and it cost 1/10 of the average house. Well, a construction union got wind of that in California, and they told my dad quite bluntly, "If you ever get this off the ground, you and your family will be 10 feet under." So at the same time period, they developed a Jeep where you could shoot at its wheels and at its tires, and wouldn't deflate. It could float downstream. It was 100 times more advanced than the common Ford Jeep, and it was cheaper. But what happened was, Ford was in kind of in bed, with the government, and we were never even allowed.
Can you keep it down, please?
We were not even allowed to bid on that. So once again, we've seen that with Tucker, Tesla,
right,
all these incredible thinkers. I don't think, to be honest, I don't know if society likes original thinkers. I don't think that, to be honest, I don't. It goes against the grain,
Yeah.
It's just even our educational system goes against the grain for people who think outside the box. you know, imagine I dream for a school in the future where a kid would jump up and down out of joy of going to school. And I know that there's an environment that can't exist for that. It's
Hmm.
not rote memory. You know, for me, like history class, please turn to page 150. Mark, will you please read the first two paragraphs?
Right.
Without, why not having a school? If you're talking about World War II, you know, fly you to Okinawa for a week, or to the battle of Midway or Normandy, and when we actually can go to the shores of Normandy, and someone like a person from World War II would give you a lesson on what happened that day,
Right.
and they would ask questions then. How can we prevent this in the future? Always ask questions. You know, what can we do? You know, to learn more about this. And I thought, well, that's why I think you have the same kind of probably a vision. You know, is
Yeah.
that learning and education should be.
Especially today.
Oh my! Oh gosh! Oh jeez!
I mean, everything's on screen, and it's just
Yeah.
hands-on stuff's always been better.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you can see it and feel it and touch it, and you know, at least a better impression.
Yeah. You know, I think technology is a two-edged sword. Um, I like technology where we can do this, but I would far more like it, you know, if we could just be in a room, uh, together, and chatting. But it is what it is right now. Yeah.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, it, how's the saying go? You don't know how good you got it until you've experienced how bad it is without it. So.
Yeah.
uh,
I mean, what's your reactions? You think of people in Newport Beach and Costa Mesa? What's going on? Yeah, I know there's
it's
so many different sides of the story.
yeah, it's totally mixed.
Yeah.
I would think. There's it's pretty much, you take the whole, right?
Mhm.
And there's these people that are angry, and wear a mask, and you should be shot if you're not, seen wearing a mask. Then you have these people over here that wear the mask or don't wear the mask at all. I think you got the bigger gap in between, which you're like, well, I wear the mask when I need to, and when I don't need to, well, I'll wear
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
There's like 70% of those people all around you, but you always have that little 15% over here and the little 15% over here, and they're the most vocal. They're the ones that are making all the noise.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
So, once again, you sort of have to see through the weeds to see what's really going on.
mhm.
You can't listen to anybody on any extreme because it doesn't really say what's
Yeah. No,
really going on.
that's still true, and that. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and if you're saying that those are the loudest, the 15% on either.
Exactly, on either side. So it's
Yeah.
and they're the ones doing all the yelling and screaming and
Mhm.
causing. I mean, the media doesn't go out anymore and ask that guy, ask Rick on the street.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's boring TV. You go down the street, you ask Joe Blow, hey, what do you think? Yeah, I think you're all crazy, it's just can't we all get along? You just you can't do a 30-minute show or an hour show of just showing people that are, I wish everybody else would just shut up,
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I think the only way out of this present day mess is that we have to be in a state of tolerance to know that I can walk in the other person's shoes, and I don't have to judge that person, criticize that person, but kind of, accept them for their point of view. And if we all accepted each other, because the thing is, we don't wear the same glasses in life, do we? I mean, my glasses aren't your glasses.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, yeah. But also at the same time, we can learn, to love different points of view. I'm slowly reaching that point where I love to see different points of view. I don't want the whole world to be a Richard. That would
Right.
that would be a drag, But so if we could all mind, it's say go inside and to see, hey, there's one fundamental force of love that's keeping us alive, and by tapping into that, right? Yeah.
You can have this point of view, but don't condemn me for having my point of view.
Yeah.
I'm not going to condemn you for your point of view. So,
Yeah.
And it's easing up on the way you think, I suppose. I mean, a lot of my friends are just angry, which is not good, as you well know, the chemicals in your body.
Yeah.
There's the people that are probably a little clearer on that, but they're just as tense because of what this guy's doing and thinking. And that's kind of like when I look at you sometimes getting upset, I sort of went,
Yeah.
I don't want to preach to the choir, but it's like, it's sometimes you got to breathe more, I guess.
Yeah. And, one thing I should learn is that the wise man, it's wise to keep your mouth shut.
Right.
Not say anything and just smile.
But what's better to be thought a fool than to open your mouth and cast all doubt, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And yet, it's hard to take a look at this world and to see we're in such a mess, but it's not helping if you put gasoline on the fire. So I don't know how how do I say this? That is that when I see our world is right now presently is ruled through anger and divisiveness, and I'm a savior, you're a sinner, I'm going to heaven, you're going to hell, I'm right, and you're wrong. And during those times a division, to be honest, I think even Christ would probably get crucified again if he came down here, because the same thing would probably happen in terms of when we see the world is on fire, and when someone shouts fire, a lot of people would think that you're putting flames on the fire.
Right.
It's how do I say this? Is that I know, and that anger is totally detrimental.
True.
To society and to ourselves. All anger, let's say all diseases stem from anger. no, I don't know of any, because basically anger, there's a mind-body connection. So the disease, right, is the mind is not at ease. Also, that's where all diseases stem from that.
Mhm.
So I imagine if if we learn moment by moment to just smile through adversity, then the body, and even, yeah, just 1 second of anger, which is automatic, but by the way, no one escapes that 1 second. So,
Yeah.
so whenever you think of anything, you get angry, just in 1 second, the chemicals are released. But
Right.
we have the opportunity to stop, look, and listen, and replace that anger, and to get in touch with compassion, love, and then we flood our bodies with that. So so that 1 second does not lead to a minute or an hour or a
Right.
day, and eventually our whole temperament is angry. Does that
Yeah,
make
it's
sense?
it does, and it's we all get angry.
Mhm.
It's some point, or it's we all get angry.
Yeah, that's part of the
But
Tao.
I try not to be angry very long. It's
Yeah.
like you said. I mean, you've already released them. That it's already you're making everything tight and tense and stuff when it's you're not designed to do that. So
Mhm.
it's getting rid of anger it's a tough thing. It's that yin yang thing that sort of
Mhm.
some people are very angry and don't know how to get rid of their anger. And that's a good. Yeah, it'd be a better place if people weren't angry.
Yeah.
And,
And that's what I try to write about.
mhm.
I don't, I'm not trying to convert anybody, because there's nothing. How can you convert to life? You already are.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
no conversion. I'm simply, saying that the jewel exists inside of you. I can't open the door. No one can open the door for you, but there is a jewel that exists.
That's true. Yeah, it's yeah, I'm starting to you got my brain swinging around there. So yeah, what do? You just keep on doing what you do and keep learning and trying to, you know, stay calm. I
Yeah.
guess would be an issue there. It's anger is definitely not good for your heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a heart attack, but that was mostly smoking, and so being an angry smoker is not a very good, not a good outcome, I'm sure.
Oh,
But it's you just sort of count your blessings, so to speak. I
yeah.
mean, I had a heart attack. I went to the hospital. They fixed it. I walked out the next day, and I look at life a little differently.
Yeah.
But is I told my wife and even my friends, they go, "Oh my gosh, you had a heart attack." But it was a great day to have a heart attack.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better day to have a heart
Oh,
attack.
yeah.
And they're like, "Well, what are you talking about?" I walked into the hospital. I went in here. I went into the cath room. I met my new cardiologist. He did the stint. I was out of there in 45 minutes. You know, in the waiting room in the post-op, you know, the guy in there, the intern, you know, I said I was hungry. He gave me a sandwich.
Oh,
And those people waited around for hours and hours and hours and hours to go up and get a room. My room came up. I went upstairs. I was in my room. They hit me all up, and all these people were coming in and everything. And the whole time I'm feeling like $100, you know, $1 million, because I didn't realize that I wasn't working on full capacity here. And now it's like, you know, my wife said the color came back in my face, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I look like before? You know, and it's and just feeling good. It was a great day to have a heart attack. If you're going to have one, you know, the outcome was pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So you know, it's like the Monty Python says, you know, you got to look at the bright side of life. Great song, looking on the bright side of life. So do more of that, I guess, and don't dwell on the dark stuff. But the dark stuff creeps in. So it's pretty hard to keep the light on, you know, 24/7.
But isn't that amazing that light dispels darkness?
Yeah, it's just that's yeah.
You know, and at any given moment, just think, every human on the face of the planet has a decision: flip on the switch, turn on the light, or flip off the switch. Darkness and light. There's no in between. You know, there's no state where I'm living in both light and darkness. It's
yeah, that's true.
Or turn
even the slightest flicker of light in darkness.
Exactly.
The light.
Exactly. Yeah.
And darkness becomes no more. So
yeah.
And it's and I guess a lot of people don't understand the absence of light.
Right. Absence. Exactly.
Is nothing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's nothing. And darkness wouldn't be anything without light.
Yeah.
You know, without the light, you can't see the darkness. It's you and I get it, but
yeah,
it's hard to let other people kind of realize that. And it's so simple, you know. It's a very simple thing.
Yeah, there's this one video, I gotta send you a link. It's on David Bohm, who's a real famous quantum physicist there in the 1930s, 40s, 50s. He became friends with the Dalai Lama, and also he had a series of conversations. I don't know if you ever heard of Krishnamurti in the 50s and 60s. But basically, what it was, one's a scientist, a quantum scientist, and the other one was a mystic, you know, Krishnamurti. And yet, when they talked with one another, they realized they were both talking about the same exact thing. You know, and they probably had 20 years of conversations together.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, they would start, and his David Bohm's wife, you know, first heard about Krishnamurti and read some of his material, and it said, you know, David, I really think, you know, you should get to know, you know, you should meet this guy, because he's talking about the same thing you are, but he's talking about, you know, of going inside and being the observable, you know, observe the observable inside. And he's talking about seeing this light that exists inside of him. And David, you're doing the same thing, but you're a scientist and you're observing outside of yourself.
Right.
Maybe there's something to this. So it was a wonderful video. The guy, he had an incredible journey. He was during World War II. well, imagine this. He grew up in Pennsylvania, and in a senior year of high school, he wrote a paper on quantum physics. So the guy was extremely bright.
Yeah,
Somehow
that's
he goes to Berkeley, and Berkeley at that time was Robert Oppenheimer, the
Oppenheimer, right.
guy who helped
Did the
design
A bomb, right?
the A-bomb, yeah. And David was his prize student. Now David had kind of radical ideas. He believed in taking a look at different governments
Mhm.
around the world, seeing which ones would work. But anyway, and this was during the McCarthy era.
Oh, yeah,
So,
exactly.
to make a long story short, David gets excommunicated, from none of the scientists or university professors or intellectuals would accept anything that he said. He even wrote this book, that Einstein, totally accepted the book and its principles, but he was forced to write something saying that this is bogus. So anyway, to make a long story short, 30 years, or 20 years after he dies, mainstream quantum physics read the book, and they almost fall over in their seats because they can't believe,
How long it was already written ago.
yeah,
And nobody picked up the book and just tossed it off as being rubbish, huh?
exactly, yeah, because it got blacklisted.
Right.
So
Interesting that Einstein said that. Not so much, I wouldn't think he would do that in a competitive point of view, but more of maybe somebody influenced him to say,
yeah, he was told not to. I mean, all the scientists, because David Bohm was friends with Einstein. They went to, Einstein was a professor, and so at that time, David was a student. I think it was either Yale or Princeton. I forgot which one, but they would. Einstein would have. He was into playing the violin. So during off hours, they would have parties, where the scientists and the intellectuals would go, and instead of talking, about science, they would talk about poetry. They would have play the violin or pianos and
you
just
got to relax somehow.
yeah, exactly. So I'll dig that video up. I just saw it about a month ago, and when I saw
That'd be great.
yeah, Mark would like this, yeah.
I would definitely like that
Uh-huh.
because it's the yeah. I mean, I'm space travel. I'm totally into that.
Mhm.
I mean, that concept is, I've always been a big Star Trek fan, and
Yeah.
2001, that was a little different, but that was a whole different concept. But at the same time, the concept was, here's a computer and here's a man.
Yeah.
Who needs who?
Right.
you
Yeah.
know.
And I wrote a poem, is that we send satellites in the sky that go 16,000 miles per hour. And yet, if we want to go to the closest star, we have to travel at 186,000 miles a second for 2 years, to get there. And then I started thinking, even the whole theory of an entanglement, so you can have a particle in one end of the universe and the other, and they're in sync. And the human beings, we have the capability, I think, through traveling through inner dimensions, in terms of, we can, because there's a quantum field, the quantum field exists everywhere, right? Beyond
Right.
time and space, beyond all dimensions. Theoretically, I'm saying, theoretically, we could tap into that and be anywhere in the universe in less than a second. And
Right.
and for me, that's kind of like the ultimate travel, because I don't see, let's say, like there's intelligent civilizations out there, let's say, who've been around for a trillion years. They're not going to take a physical object, to visit Earth.
Right.
because that would take way too much time. But through
Well,
the quantum field,
just quantum fields and just like magnetic gravity waves and just all that stuff. Just riding on gravitational waves.
mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, it'd be like surfing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Put the board in that direction, just it's not even using any energy. It's just
Right.
like sailing through. So, and I'm sure once you reach that point, then there's another thing that opens up and says, "Oh, I can do it faster." Oh, the quantum leap. I mean, that's
Yeah, I think quantum leap is probably the closest, that I've seen as that kind of possibility.
mhm.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because I can see, okay, if you have a magnetic wave that you can travel, maybe you don't have the speed of light. Okay, granted, it's still going to take you 2 years, but something about, that quantum leap, you got maybe a wormhole, right? And so in less than a second, you enter however the mechanism of that hole opens, you walk in it, and then instantly
Right.
you're there.
Well, just like the concept of warp speed,
Yeah,
we can get there, why burn up the engines? We'll just be, warp one and
yeah.
we'll be there in a few days,
Right,
But
exactly.
you got to get there like next week. It's like, okay, crank it up to, warp 7. And
Hmm.
but the concept there is, you still have mass that you have to go through. There's
Hmm.
the quantum field, but there might be a little asteroid floating around there or a planet in your way. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of funny the way the uh, Adams, what's his name, who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Universe.
Oh, Scott was calling. Yeah.
Yeah, Scott Adams. No, Scott. You know who I'm talking
Yeah, I
about.
know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And the first thing he meets, they get sucked up on the spaceship, and I forget. They're a bunch of greasy guys that are basically construction workers, and trying to explain to him, he doesn't have the heart to tell them that they're never going to get paid because that program ended, 1,000 years ago, and they're still on the same job.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And that they're making like portals. And
Hmm.
that's how Earth gets zapped. They're just coming through. Whatever gets in their way, they just clear it out. They're like cutting a tunnel, through space and time. And so that's get into your ship and
Hmm.
hop onto your little quantum leap and take the A train, Boom. Somebody's already cleared the way. So it's, I don't know. I mean, the concept is quantum wise, obviously it's done humorously, but
Hmm.
it kind of makes sense in many regards. And at the same time, it's so amazing. I just dig stuff like that. And
Hmm.
I can't wrap my head around
Yeah.
quantum physics. I mean, I just, like you, I mean, I can see the light and I can see the darkness, and,
Hmm.
someplace in between there, I mean, your mystic buddies and stuff. I mean, how can you be in two places at once? Well, you can,
Yeah. Uh-huh. And I think, quantum technology can never happen until a society is peaceful, is united, because what is the highest good can cause the highest harm.
Right.
So really see. I mean, uh, even in terms of medicine, for me, uh, Western medicine is the most gross medicine, because whatever you take has a side effect. It's a push pull, energy. Everything has a side effect. Where I think energy of the future will come from the quantum. So
Mhm.
the quantum field will affect the physical body. First affect the mind then will
Right.
affect. So just think that I kind of believe there's billions of chemicals that exist inside but are dormant. And these chemicals can be used for our healing, but because for I think a couple thing areas is we're not aware of them. We don't even
Mhm.
believe that they exist. We don't believe that the answers lie inside of us, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we uh, well, here's a funny story. I did since you had your heart thing. A couple of years ago, I was working for this program, and we designed software for surgeons. And it was from the beginning to the end. So each step of the way was a series
Mhm.
of questions. While they're doing the surgery, so it would kind of guide them. That this happens. There's a side effect. And so then it would go the whole rabbit hole of trying to have a decent surgery come out good.
Mhm.
So anyway, I'm talking to the CEO, and I said, I have a question for you. He says, why doesn't America embrace preventive medicine? And then he came up to me, oh no, we 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 can't do that. I go, why not? He says, because nobody wants to take responsibility for themselves. Uh, yeah,
That pretty much sums it up.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
But who's been training you to think that way? So it's
I know, yeah. And ever
damned if you
since,
do, damned if you don't.
and for some reason, ever since I was 18, that's what I believed in was preventative medicine. I kind of
Mhm.
took a look at, this is the only body you get.
Right,
I don't know of anyone who's ever come in for a trade-in while they're alive.
right. Yeah,
So,
true.
so I thought, well, uh, I'm gonna take care of this, and yeah, and so the more I learn, the more I see, even by myself, I'm in the beginning stages of learning about healing, about
Hmm.
how the mind body connection is. Even after studying it for 50 years, and because uh, that's my my passion, and John's passion is to learn about health. Which,
Hmm.
don't ask us why, but I'm always I'm fascinated by the
Yeah.
mechanics of health.
Well, if you have any potions out there I should be taking, let me know.
Yeah. Well, I think that the greatest potion that we talked about is your own inner chemistry set.
Right.
I think that's far more valuable than any outside substance. Because people talk about try this and do this and do this. This is going to cure you, and drop this pill or eat this food. But in reality, it's we're our own chemists. So the more we
Right.
make better chemistry in our bodies, because basically anything can heal. We can reverse aging.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think one way why I think people are getting older in one way is because we're programmed for it, right? We're programmed. I have friends. That this one guy, he's really a bright, intelligent guy, and he says, I'm going to die when I'm 80 years old, so I'm going to retire early. And then I asked, I said, hey Bruce, uh, I, personally, I think we can live a lot longer, even as a society, if it's the norm that we live longer, if we believe that we have the power to live longer. And we don't have to go through all these diseases. It's a mindset, and a lot of it's programmed or subconscious. We're not even aware of it. So I I that's personally the route I'm taking. I physically I feel like I'm in my 40s. I do
Uh-huh.
every day. I do qigong, meditate. I eat good food. I realize the power of sleep. Most people, think sleep is a drag, but sleep is one of
Hmm.
the most incredible things that a human being can do. Just think every night when you sleep, you tap into the universe every single night, and yet, but people come, oh, I got to go to sleep. What a drag. Or I can't go to sleep. I wish I could sleep.
Yeah, my wife has a hard time with it. I don't.
Huh.
I I I lay my head down and I go, I'm going to sleep now. And it drives her crazy. And I'm just,
Yeah. Huh.
she goes, how do you do that? I go, do what?
And I think we can learn how to, so basically, when people have a hard time with sleep, they're in a high beta state.
Hmm.
And in order for melatonin, to get
Right.
produced, we have to go from beta to alpha to theta to delta, and then melatonin gets a release. So, I mean, she can learn practically, not by taking any external medicine, just
Man, she doesn't.
just to chill out, before you go to sleep, and have her, either take a bath, don't watch TV, don't watch any news, don't get on the computer, prepare your
Guilty, guilty, guilty on all those counts.
yeah, but if you prepare yourself for sleep, and over time, once you start learning how to sleep, well, then you can watch TV or whatever. But if you spend like even 21 days of just dropping all external senses, and when you go to sleep, just totally relax the entire body, then over time melatonin will kick in,
Right.
because once you go beyond high beta, and the body, the more the mind and body relaxes, the more the body, chemicals. Once again, we're chemists. That the body will say, "Oh, I know what you want to do. You're in a state of relaxing. It's dark. You want melatonin, to be
Right.
produced, so you can go to sleep." And that's kind of like my my viewpoint. If everybody has their malady.
Sure. You definitely have to quiet your mind because I find, there's sometimes it's, I'll wake up to go to the bathroom or something, and then I, get back into bed, and most of the time I just close my eyes and I'm gone. But there's other times when it's like,
Mhm.
why can't I go to sleep? And then the brain starts working. Why can't I go to sleep? It's like, well, how do I shut this off? So it's because I know that's all I have to do.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, you let the brain swirl around, and eventually I do. But
So when you can't go to sleep, for me, it's like the universe is saying that, uh, pay attention to me, concentrate on your breath, behind your breath, and
mhm.
and the more you pay attention to that, the universe pays attention to you, and then automatically you're going to go to sleep because you're in harmony. So I I
Right.
that to me, I kind of take a look at practical things that happen in my life, and to see, they're so-called obstacles, but then we could use our wisdom, to combat and make it
Hmm.
easier, to understand that maybe a lot of these things that happen to us is the universe is kind of knocking on the door and saying, "Hey, uh, I got
Over
something
here.
Yeah, exactly. And if we see life that way, then that makes things easier, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. And it does.
Mhm.
Now, just how do we teach this to everybody else?
Oh, I have, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
how do we get a good night's sleep? You're going to wake up feeling better than when you went to sleep, and it's time to have a great day.
And that's what I'm trying to do in my writings. For me, it's like a Tibetan flower, a prayer reel.
Uh-huh.
Every day. Okay. Uh, I think mostly I'm writing it for myself
Sure.
in terms, because I every time I tap into that and I listen to it, it gives me wisdom. So I thought, well, okay, it, hopefully maybe there's someone out. I mean, there's someone out there who will get feel inspired or listen to it.
But you know what, Rick? I mean, think about it. Think about all the teachings of all these great masters and stuff. That they're basically doing the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
They're being repetitive.
Hmm.
They're trying to say it in a different way, but it's still the same thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Look
exactly.
at it this way. But they're never really off the track. They're just,
Yeah.
maybe look at it this way or look at it this way, but it's still all the same.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter how you look at it. I mean, once you realize what you're looking at,
Yeah,
it's pretty much all the same. So
yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely agree with you 100% on that.
it's just
And this conversation that we had has been told millions of times.
right,
Yeah,
right.
different ways. We have different manifestations of it, of what the essence is.
It's always just a pleasure talking to you. I just well, we're both at ease with talking with each other, and
Yeah,
that's always a plus.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I usually I don't have a problem talking to anybody really. Used to drives my son crazy sometimes.
Mhm.
You don't even know that guy. Why are you talking to him? I go, why not?
Exactly.
You never know when you're going to meet your next best friend.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
and and just being kind and thoughtful and helpful and to one person for 15 seconds.
Hmm. Yeah,
That could change his whole outlook of the whole day.
yeah,
I met this guy today, and
yeah, yeah.
it was nice.
Right.
And if he can pass that on to 10 more people, it just sort of spreads like that. When
Mhm.
people are walking around with their head down, they're missing a lot of eye contacts and smiles and what they normally not see. So
Mm.
unless you're in a parking lot,
What's that?
you're walking from the parking lot into the store,
Uh-huh.
you got to look up. You
Yeah,
got to look around.
exactly.
Nobody does. I know you've seen it. You're
Mhm. Oh, yeah, yeah.
looking up and they just walk
Hmm.
without, their peripheral vision's not working
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they would have slowed down. But
Mhm.
it's amazing. It's just amazing to me how people are just like this,
Mhm.
and not even glancing to see what's around them.
Yeah.
It's always amazed me. It's always amazing. And
Mhm.
it's just gotten worse.
So,
Oh, worse.
mhm.
Step off the curb.
Yeah. Right.
It was like my neighbor. Oh, she's into essential oils, and my wife has done a bunch of stuff. But I remember her saying something like gluten-free. I mean, all the problems they have. And I'm just like, oh, if you just eat right. Oh, well, that's the problem. Nobody eats right. Well, I mean, I eat everything. I don't, I love food. I just,
Mhm.
I'd love to hang out in your kitchen for a month,
Mhm.
but and I'm very lucky because my wife is a very good cook.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, but Jen was saying something to the effect, well, if you keep eating that, you're going to die. You're just going to die if you keep doing that. And I explained to her the metaphor. Well, tell you what, you keep eating the way you're eating. That's great. But watch out for that bus when you step off the curb.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you talking about? You don't see the bus coming.
Mhm.
It wasn't the food that killed you. So it's like,
Yeah.
I tried to put it in perspective. It's like, we're all going to die.
Hmm.
There's more things to worry about than my calorie intake right now, so
Mhm.
there's always that bus.
And yeah, and just think, what's going to kill you is your mind-body chemistry. You're going to have the greatest. Let's say you can be a vegetarian and have a perfect diet, but if you're angry all the time,
Right.
yeah,
Angry at people not eating vegetables.
yeah, exactly. Right.
Hey, I'm going to let you go, Rick.
Okay. Yeah. Hey. Well,
It's been fun. I mean, it took us a while, but I think I'm dialed in.
yeah, you're dialed in now. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
let's do this again sometime, or
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to say hi. I don't care.
Uh-huh. Well, Marco, much enjoyed this. So yeah, definitely.
It's been fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to looking at my conversation with you.
Yeah. Yeah. But hint, hint, yeah, I'll have it up for you by in half an hour. I'll send you a link.
Hey,
All right, Mark. Love you.
good talking to you. Love you too, brother.
Okay. Talk
I
to you
don't.
later.
I'll let you sign out.
Okay. Oh yeah. All right. Stop recording.
I guess.